And good morning. Welcome to the DFS Minute for June 3rd, 2015, Wednesday morning. I'm your host, Michael Rathburn, also known as Rath in the daily fantasy sports industry. You can find me on Twitter at FantasyRath. Welcome into Roto Curve, and last night was a good night. If you had Chris Archer, which is who my top guy was on the board yesterday, I talked about that in the early video. And in chat, I was very high on Chris Archer last night, and he came through in a very big way. And also, if you had the Dodgers, that was also nice too. So it was a positive night in the pay window across the board. Played multiple sites and did well. So it's always good. And when our value plays hit, like a guy like Logan Forsythe, and then some other guys actually hit too, it's always good. So we're excited about last night. Today is a split slate. We have some afternoon games and we have some evening games. So we'll run down some of the pitching in those slates, talk about some industry news and some stuff that happened last night and some things you need to be on the lookout for. Like I said, Chris Archer, monster game last night, and hopefully you had some of the Dodgers, which was good. Now, what was a little bit scary was that lineup didn't come out till late. So everybody was kind of holding their breath, waiting for that Dodgers lineup to come out because they had the first game early in the day, then they had the doubleheader. So you weren't sure who was going to get in, who wasn't. So what was good with that was Grandal ended up hitting cleanup, and then Hernandez ended up hitting second. So you got some nice value there. And then you also see Jock Peterson, Adrian Gonzalez thrown in there too, so which was good. Over on FanDuel, or kind of in the industry in general, player BeepImaJeep, Jay, who was on the Scout Sirius XM show the other night and did a really good job with the interview. Really humble guy, and just running roughshot right now in daily fantasy baseball. And it sounds like this guy's a grinder. He said he puts in 70 or 80 hours a week during the baseball season, which is really cool to hear. So he doesn't really play on FanDuel, and he goes, maybe I'll go play over there when, if opportunity. Here's the thing. This guy is already maxed out the number of seats he can get at the DraftKings Live Final. So he goes over and he plays on FanDuel, and what does he do? Well, he wins a seat to their final. And not only wins, but just crushes. I think he ended up with a 71, and CSU Ram Pete Jennings ended up with a 51. And even Pete was just like, what am I going to do? This guy beat me by 20. Obviously, he's on a serious heater right now, and he's absolutely crushing and mowing down everybody. So just an awesome job to see a guy like that, get in. And now, he's definitely got a shot now at some very serious money on FanDuel and DraftKings. Not only did he win a bunch last year, but he could be in line for a serious couple of paydays here in August. So pretty good to see and good for the industry. He's not he does play multi-entry, but he's not a mega multi-entry guy like some of the other people that we've been hearing about. Over on DraftKings, they came out with a promotion the other day called the Summer Games, and it's going to run June 4th to the 15th. And a lot of cool stuff. You're going to see a lot of big tournaments for low entry. So definitely go to DraftKings and check out their promo page for the Summer Games, because there's going to be some opportunity here. I think that you're going to want to take some shots. Now, these large field, low entry, large prize pool tournament. Yes, they do have tens of thousands of entries, lots of multi-entry, et cetera, et cetera. However, why not fire a bullet? If it's a 3, a 5, a 9, whatever it is, a dollar amount, why not take a shot at taking down a big nut? Get a stack together, get a couple of pitchers together. Now, like Benny said, these tournaments don't necessarily win with stacks. Now, I probably would stack in them, but a lot of these tournaments, first prize is not won with a stack. So as much as some of these tournaments like qualifiers and things like that, where stacks are taking them down, when it starts getting to be 40,000, 50,000, 100,000 entries, it turns out that a stack isn't necessarily the lineup that might win at all. So just something to be aware of, something that Benny talked about. But they've got some interesting stuff. And then the biggest thing, I think, is the Fantasy Baseball World Championship qualifier on Friday is only $27. Every one they've run so far this year has either been $1,000. I think they did run for one for 5,300 one, but they've been running them at $1,000, and it doesn't seem like that's going to change. Now, what has changed is they were only running 4 satellites a day, or maybe 6, I think. Like a 3, a 33, and I believe maybe 100 or 109 around that name. So they beefed up the number of satellites. There's 15 satellites today to the Fantasy Baseball World Championship 1K entry. So just be aware that they have beefed up the number of satellites. Clearly, they're not filling, so they got to go that route. However, at least they're giving you the option to satellite in, which is good. So I definitely give them kudos for that. FanDuel did announce another live final in San Francisco. It's 150,000. It's 12 seats. It's going to be on June 27th. And they ran a $25 qualifier last night. They're running another one tonight. I don't have a problem with that. I think that, of course, if they fill, they have to fill. I mean, they have to do a better job promoting these things, and even offering guys to be able to satellite in for $1 or $2, which is something that they really struggle with. But I think a $25 qualifier is fine. We see that DraftKings is running one. Look, if you want to do 109, I get it. My frustration is when it gets to 500 and 1,000, and you've got 3 or 4 guys that are just swallowing up the majority of the equity in the contest. That's just, to me, it's just silly. And I don't quite understand why they have to do that. So better promotion, better focus in the lobby, better satellites, all those things make it so you don't have to run the 500 and 1,000 on a 12-seater. I mean, it's 150K. There's no reason why you should have to run a 501K qualifier to get in. I mean, that's just silly to me. These smaller live events really should be geared towards the smaller player. And I'm not saying they got to run them at 1 and 2, but I mean, 10, 25, whatever. 25 is fine. Hopefully it fills, and they'll be able to keep it at that price point. Last night, the Rangers had called up Joey Gallo, who's a big-time prospect in their system for Adrian Beltre, one of the DL. Looks like he's going to be out for 2 or 3 weeks. And so Joey Gallo got the call, and he's a big left-handed power hitter, monster power. He's not as good as Chris Bryant. He is going to strike out quite a bit, and he may not just be ready. However, last night he was in the lineup. He did hit 6, and he went ballistic. He went nuts. One hit short of a cycle, went crazy. And I actually kind of took for granted that he wasn't listed on any of the sites. I think I checked on a couple. He was listed on Fantasy Aces, and I believe he was around $3,200 last night. So a lot of guys that had Joey Gallo last night did very well on Aces. So that was so Joey Gallo is listed today. He's 2.9 on FanDuel. He's 3.2 on DraftKings, 3.2 on Aces. Here's the thing. They're going against a lefty and Eduardo Rodriguez, so there's a chance that Gallo may sit. Or if he does play, for me, it's really tough to play a rookie left-handed bat against a left-handed pitcher. So just be aware that Gallo is in play, not today necessarily for me, but moving forward, if his price tag is going to remain cheap, then he's definitely somebody that we want to take a look at and pick our spots. As far as the slates go today in pitching, it's a little bit tricky. Let's start with the early ones. There's not a huge amount of options. You do have Tanaka coming back today. To me, it's way too risky. He'd be a tournament play only for me. You're still having to pay up and pay premium price for him. So I'd like to see what he does first, coming back off the injury. Now, with John Lackey is the biggest favorite in the afternoon games going at home going against Milwaukee. So I think Lackey would be a guy that you definitely want to look at. Francisco Liriano is somebody to look at, because here's the thing. As much as I've been saying that you don't want to pick on the Giants in that offense, you've got to dig a little bit deeper into these numbers. Now, the Giants aren't really that great against lefties. They're not bad, but they're not top 5. So a lot of that lineup is left-handed bats at the top, and guys like Panic, Aoki, guys that just Brandon Crawford. So you've got some guys that are hitting from the Brandon Belt's another one. So Liriano kills lefties. So who are we looking at? It's in San Francisco, so there's a good park shift there. And the thing about the Giants is that what you really have to look at is not their overall numbers, but look at their home road splits, because that's really telling. They're the #1 team in baseball as far as weighted on base goes on the road. They're 343 on the road, and they're 306 at home as a team. So we see that you can pick on the Giants at home a little bit. And we have seen that this week. You can pick on the Giants at home with certain spots. I think aces against the Giants in San Francisco are something to do. So I think Liriano's in play for me. If you're looking at cash games, you're probably looking at a combination of Lackey and Liriano. If you're looking at tournaments, I think you can go Liriano or Lackey with a guy like perhaps Taijuan Walker. Again, talk about splits. Taijuan Walker's gotten blown up on the road, but he's been pretty good at home, and he had a really good outing last time out. So I know the Yankees did let up Felix, but that situation I think was a little bit unique. I was listening to the Scout Show on demand yesterday afternoon, and Tommy had talked about he had Felix in the King of the Hill matchup that he had gone down in, and he had talked about the mound being wet and that it had rained, and Felix was struggling. Felix had gotten off to a ridiculous start in that game and then had looked like he had struggled with the mound and the weather. So definitely something to keep an eye on, and it was great insight by him. So, just be aware that even though the Yankees did light up Felix, that doesn't necessarily mean that Taijuan Walker is out of play. I think as far as the tournament goes, he's still really cheap, and I don't think that his recent performances, what's happened is his home performances have been negated by the bad performances on the road, so you're still getting him at a really good salary. So that's kind of my take on the early slate. As far as the late slate goes, it's a little bit tricky because you've got Kluber at Kansas City and you've got Sale at Texas. Both, I think, are risky matchups, and we kind of saw that yesterday with Max Scherzer. You notice that we didn't really recommend Max Scherzer yesterday. And there was reasons why. We didn't feel confident in his matchup against Toronto, even though he's elite against right-handed bats. The matchup against Toronto's offense, regardless, lefty-righty, it always presents a problem. So, that's why I was so high on Chris Archer yesterday. I talked about for the value and for the matchup and the upside, I felt like Chris Archer was the number one play on the board. So thankfully that did come through. So similar situation today for me. The way I look at it is I'm probably not going to be on Kluber and I'm probably not going to be on Sale. The two guys that are really sticking out for me is Cole Hamels and James Shields. Both are pitching at home. I think both are in pretty good spots, and they've both been pitching good recently. And I think, you're getting Hamels at 10.1 on DraftKings and Shields is 9.4 on DraftKings. So you can get them for 19.5 in your cash games, be under 20,000 and still be okay. So I think a Hamels-Shields combo in cash is very attractive. And then on FanDuel, Hamels is 9.9 and Shields is 9.3. So you're getting a little bit of a discount over on FanDuel. And again, we talked about this yesterday or the other day, is elite pitching has been priced up on DraftKings. So you are still getting elite pitching at a pretty good value. Usually the second, third, fourth guy on FanDuel, you're still getting at great value. You got that with Archer yesterday. And you're going to be able to get that today, I think, with Hamels and with Shields. So the guy that I'm looking at as far as value plays tonight, and I'm not sure how many other people are going to be on him. I would imagine he's going to be pretty popular. But, at 7 a.m. here this morning, I'm looking at Hector Santiago at home against Tampa Bay. He's 7,100 on DraftKings, and he is 7,900 on FanDuel. Again, mid-tier pricing looks to be cheaper on DraftKings, and that's where you can take advantage. He's not a guy that I'm probably going to roll out on FanDuel, but as a second pitcher with Hamels or Shields tonight, I'm absolutely going to roll him out there. So here's the thing about Santiago that you might not realize. I'm going to run down his last 5 games with his DraftKings salary. All right, let's go. He's 30.9 is 6,900, 16.2, 7,100, 23.5, 6,700, 23.3, 6,200, 21.2, 6,500. He's put up monster games over the last 5, except for really 1. The guy has given you a multiplier of 3 or 4 in every single game, pretty much. And he's still priced at 7,100. He's a little bit more than what he's been, but now he's at home against Tampa Bay, and I think Santiago, for me, everything is green on Santiago today. So I'll be curious to see what Benny and Josh have to say later on today. Benny will be live on the Curve Show from 12 to 12:30. Look for Josh, his articles throughout the day, all day, and in the forum and in the chat. Some great content from him. As you know, his pitching insight is invaluable. So I'll be very curious to see what Josh thinks about some of the recommendations that I have early on today. All right, guys, want to wish you the best today. Remember, afternoon and evening today, definitely be aware of some overlay and make sure you keep aware of lineups. And as we say here at RotoCurve, stay classy, DFS.